adding to the bucket.
Yeah, I saw a thing the other day. Um, might have even been yesterday. It was just something along the lines of we learn the lesson once, and after that, the lesson's within us. We
Mhm.
teach it to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once the lesson is presented, whether we're young or old, we carry that lesson with us and we use it to teach ourselves, even if we don't understand it yet. We finally have the epiphany or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
once it finally comes to.
Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely areas that I'm glad, even though it was a challenge, I'm glad that I've been brought through, an experience to make sure that I'm on the path that I've been intentional in working towards. If anything, if I'm not, then I just take that and can be pretty critical uh, of myself. So I don't know. I'm trying to kind of just give myself more peace, I think, in the moment, and not
I think that's
not
good.
stress so much about the past or the future. I think I realized earlier this week I was explaining how my youngest son burnt his leg on the exhaust of my motorcycle a few years ago,
Bad parent.
and I was talking about that experience, and it was bad. I had told him to put pants on.
Yeah.
He didn't, and stepped into the bike to put the peg down, and I just heard a scream and turned, and as he stepped away, the skin was like
Yeah.
liquid cheese, just like
Goo.
melting off of the
Yeah.
muffler. And he's a very strong kid. Um, he
It's his
he had,
battle
he had
scar.
he wanted me to pick him up on the bike, so it was the one day I went to pick him up from school on the bike, and that happened, and it wasn't like I had the car to jump into to
Right.
take him to the
Still had to
emergency
go on the
room.
bike.
So he still had to hop up there, took it like a champ, rode up to the pharmacy and got burn wound care and wrapped it up, and then got him to the ER, and the looks that I got in there from the staff felt pretty bad, and anyhow, I realized this week that when I was explaining that story, I'm still mad at myself that happened. And at this point in time, it's completely irrelevant.
Noah almost
Like
loves that it happened to him.
yeah, that's his little battle scar, And so, but I realized like how many other things am I still walking around like upset with myself about, and therefore probably others about other experiences, and um, it just made me think like I really do need to think about what I'm saying to myself and what I'm like carrying with me and kind of harboring.
Yeah.
know?
Everything that we carry with us, any negative thing that we carry with us, is our own fault.
Yeah.
We have the ability to forgive ourselves from the moment whatever happens.
Mm.
It's just really hard to.
Yeah.
It's
No.
hard to not live in the I should have and I should, I should have done this or I shouldn't have done this. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's just one of the hardest things to kind of push aside, to be able to forgive yourself or to let that situation just be what it is.
Right.
Um,
And then like as I was thinking more about that, I was like, well, I'm doing this about all the past stuff, and then challenging experiences or problems that I've had, whether they were challenges that I chose to try and better myself or improve a situation, whatever that might be. Um, whether it was that or something that I felt like was happening to me that was out of my control or a bad experience. Um, I've learned lessons from both types of experiences. And, it got me thinking like, what do we do in terms of like our attitude as we're going through life? I'm doing all of this complaining for a lot of which I've asked for. I asked to be put in specific situations, and I've, you know, asked to have more of a challenge in life and to be able to grow. And, um, so it got me thinking in terms of our attitudes through challenges and how easy it is as we're experiencing a hardship in life to beat yourself up about not having made the right choice. And then you kind of spiral out and kind of piggybacking off of a little bit of what you said at the end of the last time we talked about choosing whichever path between. There's the path of self-harm and, the self-doubt and the depression, and then there's a choice to try and improve those thoughts and improve the situation, and the heart is the same. um, I think there's a lot to do with the attitude that we kind of choose for ourselves. And um, I'm just seeing that kind of relate in my life quite a bit, where everything that's bothering me or stressing me out is either something that I've asked for or a lesson in which I know I will grow from, and just trying to be more grateful for all of it. Um, I know that wisdom is more valuable than anything, you know, more than anything material. And so everything that I've learned, including the tough stuff, is more valuable to me than something like monetary, because it allows me the ability to do better, be better, and not make those same decisions if it was something that I led myself into, you
Yeah,
know?
we have to be happy for the sunshine and the rain.
Yeah.
And Gordy would play that song all the time when he was around, and that's something that sticks with me quite a bit. I heard, I'm forgetting who else said it. Like being grateful, like if you're grateful for things in your life, if you're beginning to like jump onto that being grateful journey, you have to be grateful for everything, even the hardest things, because that's what makes you. You have to be grateful that you have to be grateful of even the worst possible thing that's ever happened to you,
Yeah.
because it's there. It's a story in your life. It's a lesson in your life, and it's making you be a better person, even if it doesn't feel like it.
hmm
So
And then when I talk with people too, other people are similar, I think, in which we all kind of get caught up in our lives and whatever's going on with us. And it's um, really easy to get into that mindset where you're kind of stuck, upset at things,
yeah,
or
we're
think things are out of your hands or out of
yeah,
control.
we're
But
never gonna be able to be like I am. I try to be grateful. I'm not always grateful.
yeah,
No one is always grateful, unless you're a monk living on top of a mountain, and even then, they might not be grateful of a fly once in a while.
hmm
The point is that you're trying to be a better person. Like no one is the be it all, best person in the entire world. Um, all you can do is strive to be there.
yeah.
So
So yeah, I'm trying to challenge myself for a better mode of thinking for a little while. I
I like
think,
it. It's good.
gonna try and
How are you doing on your weight? I know we just weighed ourselves.
so weight, third
Oh,
week. I think I said I needed to gain a pound and a half per week. I'm at about 140, so 5 pounds. I think technically I'm just barely making the cut for myself, but for me, that's if I drink enough water
yeah.
in the moment,
Oh, you'll
that's
be fine.
okay. So I think for myself, it's maintaining the routine of the habits that I know will actually help me to be healthier and put nutrients in my body that it needs. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of actually being consistent with eating. Um, and lifestyle. I can eat and still not gain anything, so I have to be very intentional to work out and try and eat to fuel myself. So it's great though to have that going on with the boys. I'm able to incorporate routines that make myself better, in which they'll also benefit from. We all work out together,
Yeah.
and then obviously we're all eating together. So
That'd be good.
trying. How about yourself? Where are you at?
So this is gonna go into something. Um, but right now I'm 1 pound heavier than I was when I started.
Mm,
Uh, the reason I say it's gonna go into something is because I'm dealing with quite a bit of trying to figure out what's going on with me, and I think that that's the biggest problem. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about. So I was doing okay, and then shit happened with my family and kind of spiraled back, and I'm letting myself do that. I'm letting myself go back through that cycle.
mm,
Um,
Cass & Co. Upscale Thrift is redefining resale. Think timeless fashion, luxury brands, and curated pieces, all at prices that let you stay stylish without the splurge. Whether you're hunting for vintage classics or this season's designer staples, we'll make high-end accessible. Dress like you own the runway for a fraction of the price. You need a minute, or you want me to?
no, I'm just. It was a hard 2 days. A hard 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got sick for a few days, whether it was the air, whether it was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it threw me into, not it threw, like by being sick and not being able to continue on to my routine, my emotions are always up and down. Doesn't matter my medication, doesn't matter my routine, like they just always are. And I have to use the toolkits that I have to push me at a level playing field, because I don't choose to be medicated so much that I'm a zombie floating through life. I love that I can feel the greatest. Like, I love that when happiness comes to me, it's overwhelming happiness, which in turns, in the same thing that we were just saying, like I have to also love the fact that I'm capable of going so low that I feel how I don't go back to where I was, like in a depressive state of like suicidal, being suicidal and stuff, but I still feel everything when I'm that low. And so I was in it for a few days, and that in turn led to emotional eating, which is why I'm up another pound. Um, the entire time, it wasn't like I'm sitting there trying to, like, it wasn't as if I wasn't trying to get out of it. And I had a talk with my therapist about this yesterday, and this is why I wanted to bring it up. So I have bipolar with rapid cycling, right? So my emotions are skyrocket. It's a roller coaster all the time. So being self-aware of things, I always try to figure out what's causing me to feel depressed, what's causing me to feel anxious, what's causing this. So for 2 days, I'm in a cycle of beating myself up because I can't figure out why I'm feeling this way. I'm like, I'm starting this business. I've got friends who are supporting me. Like, I'm working on myself. I know that I wasn't working on myself directly the way that I wanted to. Like, I wasn't, and I'll get into that. Like, we'll get into talking about doing things that make you happy and stuff. But I was just like, if I just keep trying to chug this along, it'll eventually work out. And I'll be able to then eventually do the things that are making me happy. But I was sitting there for 2 3 days, like constantly trying to figure out why. And again, we talk about like trying to figure out that why. And then when I was talking to my therapist, he's like, that's like, you can't control the chemicals that are in your brain. So when people have mental health disorders, and especially if they're not on medication or they're not in talk therapy or they're not doing anything like that, I don't always get to have a why. Like sometimes I keep trying to find my way out of it, and I had to understand yesterday that it's an acceptance thing for me to, like, I've accepted the fact that I have, like being bipolar, it's not that big of a deal. Like I have, like, there's routines and there's ways out of it, but I had this fear of, and I continue to have this fear, and I work through this, is I'm accepting that something is completely wrong with me for the rest of my life. That's it. It's not that big of a deal, but it still is like an accepting that there's a fault in me. And in doing that, I'm capable of not sitting, I'm not, in doing that, I'm capable of no longer asking why all the time. Instead, I'm like, this is just what it is. I can't control the chemicals in my brain. All I can do is use the tools to help me through it, because I'm never going to be able to help myself out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you have to necessarily even have a mental health issue
Yeah.
to experience that. I know I've talked on here before about just needing to understand a why, and really allowing that to be my focus, trying to make sense of things and trying to, figure it all out mentally, and then same thing, coming to a place of acceptance, because I think everything we feel comes from so many different aspects, from the past to the present, fears and experiences and trauma. Like there's so many things that are wrapped up in our feelings that kind of distort or dictate what it is we're trying to get out of that moment. That when you do get to the place of acceptance where you allow your mind to kind of calm down enough to just be in that feeling, accept that that's how you feel. When you can name where that's coming from, then it kind of pulls it from that fight or flight into, you know, like the prefrontal cortex, so that you're able to distinguish what it is, and it makes it more manageable, because then you can decide what you want to do with that information and how to apply it to yourself. And I think we all experience that, though. I'm always spiraling in thought
Yeah.
about those things and trying to get to the deeper meanings. And sometimes it's like, why am I exploring the
Yeah.
deeper meaning behind this terrible feeling,
Right.
knowing that like it's a culmination of these things that,
Yeah.
have happened, but have nothing to do with where I'm presently at in this moment. They factor into it, but the moment that you're in is the moment that you have to get through. And sometimes it's hard just to kind of pull yourself out of it.
Yeah, and I'm when I say like I'm looking for that why, sometimes like in what to the point of what you're saying, everything piles in,
Hmm.
and you you might be able to get a why. But for me, some days I just wake up and there is no why. The chemicals in my brain just dumped a certain
Right.
way,
Right.
and I just have to deal with it. Like when it comes to the rapid cycling, like typically with bipolar disorder, it's like every 6 months you have a manic period and a depressive period, and mine's like they add rapid every time. Like
Hmm.
it's rapid with rapid cycling,
Yeah.
and it just depends. Mine switch every day, all
Yeah.
the time, and so if I have a chemical dump in my brain that I didn't want there, it could make me fucking happier than hell. And I could be running around manic, and I don't get to the point of mania now because I'm on medication and I take care of myself and I don't do substances and I, hardly drink, and I don't go to the place that was putting me there initially, or that I was running to. But I'm just I'm still in that. Like I know that I can't find the why. Like I'm still sitting in this rapid state right now. And I know that regulating and doing the things that I like to do and organizing and getting back to the routine is what gets me there. But I'm just living in a tense spot right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm even trying to stop myself from this is the same thing I was what with me and Matt's um the last podcast that was out. I read something that came from the past and I instantly went back there.
Hmm.
And I like my body just fucking tensed up. And I can
Hmm.
feel physically like I don't physically feel well because I'm living in this depressed like state.
Hmm.
There's tons of things around me that I'm using to help me out of it. Like coming in here and talking to friends. Yesterday, I didn't want to sit down with no one and have a podcast. And I told him that specifically. I texted him and said, "Hey, I don't want to," just so he would go, "Okay, well, we're going to," because he knows what it is to sit in that.
Yeah.
And same thing with you. I was like, "I don't really want to." And then you're like, "Yeah, well, we're going to do it." Not just because it's part of the job, but because it's helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how much do you think your attitude and your perspective, when you're going through it and you're clearly experiencing these feelings as like self-awareness, like you're having these thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
do you try to recoach yourself? Do you try to put positive, thinking and
Yeah.
replace the positive with the
Yeah. So
negative? Like, what are you doing to try and pull yourself through it right now?
I'm writing a ton, and same thing. And I actually just got more into writing on my iPad than in my notebook. It actually helps me out quite a bit because I will consistently switch back between a red pen and a green pen now in my iPad. So if I'm having negative thoughts if I'm being self-aware so much that I'm like, okay, this sentence just went through my brain, write it down on paper. I switch it over to the red if it's negative. Sorry. Switch it over to green if it's a positive thing, or I'll say what's negative and then I'll work myself through it, using
Hmm.
the green pen and work through how that isn't true, or work through how, how to move through it in a positive light. Um, we just talked out there about, I'm still reading. I'm trying to find any fucking gem to help me. I'm not on social media because I fear as if I hear one sad thing and it puts me in a sad spot. I'm very vulnerable right now that if to the point where the reason that the reason that I haven't called anybody to come over and stuff is because I know how I am in this state and I will take on anything that comes to me. So if anybody has any problems and they come to me and they start bitching about them and talking about them, I'll feed into it because I don't want to deal with how I'm feeling. So I keep my distance with people and try to really focus in on how I'm doing and focus on what I'm doing to help myself and what's coming into my cup. And then
You're still doing the operation too, right?
yeah,
You're still doing
yeah,
bad operation.
which has been it's been something that because I've built it up I think we're on 65 days. Today's 66. Because I built it up, it's a part of my routine, and I know in the back of my head, no matter what, I have to do it because it's already been a part of my routine before I got to feeling like this.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think it's important to remember also in terms of the weight goal that if you are sticking with it and consistent with it, you're going to put on some muscle weight
Yeah,
also. And there's that few weeks or month that you kind of don't
just fluctuate,
necessarily
and then
see the results just because,
yeah, and I'm
you're
not
gaining and losing
yeah,
equally.
I'm not beating myself up about the number. I never have.
It's good.
I've never looked. The only reason I have the number is so we have something to tell everybody.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to talk about what it's like to be in this place that you get slumped down to in sometimes. I know that I'm going to get back out of it. Like if I turn around, I can see the footsteps that I took to get here, which means I can backstep right through them to get right back out. I know what it takes to get out of it. It's an overwhelming, vulnerable state to be in and allow other people to see it.
Yeah, I understand. I think it's important too to remember as you or anybody else is going through things that we always kind of have this idea, whether it's looking at ourselves or other people around us, and kind of tying in with the shoulds also. It's really easy to say, I wish I was this way again, or I want to be this version of myself again. And it's important to remember that you can't go backwards.
Yeah.
You are always going to be a new version of yourself, and so you have these tools that have helped you develop in the past and what you're going through now, although it may feel like what you've been through before, through a cycle.
Yeah.
You're always adding to it, and everybody has the ability to remember that they've made it through those times before, and they're in a new position to be able to add those tools and to be able to add the strength of having made it through that time in a previous experience, to push themselves through, and remember that it's an opportunity to come into the person that we've asked to be or that we desire to be. Generally, it's one with a deeper understanding of themselves and to be the best version of themselves. So it takes all these experiences that make us peel back the parts of ourselves that we don't like or even that we do like, just to get us to a new perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's funny because I know, like, it's like we know the answers,
Yeah.
right? We just get lost
Hmm.
in the middle of it, and it's not as if I'm at the stage of being lost. I think 3 days ago I felt lost, but then you have, like you said, the reason that the reason that we use the tools, the reason that I use this red card, green card, the reason that you write in your notebooks with the red and the green, the reason that we use exercise to go out and help ourselves. The reason that I'm still doing the bad operation is because they're tools that we've used to help ourselves out of it before. And like, if the only tool, so my therapist said this to me yesterday, and he's like, if the only tool that you have is a hammer, you're going to see everything as a nail, and you're just going to beat the fuck out of everything, and it's not
Absolutely.
going to work.
Yeah.
So the reason that you have all the tools is to pick which one is going to work. If it's a screw, don't use the fucking hammer.
Yeah.
And um I'm ready to start. So the other thing is too, when we first started this, when I first had the idea of this, it was all about having a physical distraction to change. When I first started this, I was like, it was all about having a physical distraction to change how I was feeling mentally, right? So me falling out of bed and doing a push-up that's what got my physical journey back on track. And it helped me mentally to break up all the noise. This episode is brought to you by Construction Coffee Co. Go to constructioncoffeeco.com, a company that knows exactly what kind of fuel you need when the day starts too early and ends too late. They're not just slapping a label on cheap beans. This stuff is roasted with real grit, made for people who move, build, and stay busy. You've got blends like Crack of Dawn to kickstart the day, Sparky's Nightmare for the ones who live in chaos, and King of the Castle for anyone who runs the site or just thinks they do. And it's not just coffee. They've got gear too. Mugs, tees, stickers, hats. Tough enough for the job site, clean enough to wear on your day off. More blends are on the way, and they're just getting started. So if you want to support a crew that actually gives a damn about what they're making, check out constructioncoffeeco.com. Construction Coffee Co. Clock in, drink up, shut up. That's what I was trying to get at, is like, I'm coming in here, I'm super fucking frantic. I'm trying to figure out what the next step is to do. Like, us together as a team, we're going to figure out what that is. And I know that I physically can't do that by myself. I've earned my place right now to where I can wake up early in the morning. I can go to the gym. Like, I'm ready to get back to that, because I'm what brought bad, what built bad, and what made it alive was the fact that I was doing things that made me fucking happy, and I wanted other people to be able to start doing the same things. Like, I talked about this the first, like, I think on our first podcast, like, it was selfish for me to start this. And because it was going to give me the chance to work on myself nonstop
and do the things you enjoy at the same time.
Go rock climbing, go do jujitsu, go like do hard fucking things that you suffer through to make you better, and to show people that it works.
Yes.
And somewhere along the line, I got roped up into the monotonous stuff of the business, because you have to in order to do it.
Yeah.
Like, fortunately, there's paperwork that will always come with this. And I haven't been giving myself the balance of it. And I'm doing something that I wrote this down, and I'm probably going to botch it or whatever I wrote down. But the step that I'm taking here, I'm not giving myself credit for. I'm taking a very comfortable life and a very comfortable wage, and I'm stepping away from it. And I'm hoping that the money that I have lasts. I'm hoping that I can make all of this work for me, my family, and all my friends. And I'm hoping to be able to help out as many people as possible. I don't think that I'm very special in what I'm doing, but I do think that I'm taking a huge risk. And I'm risking it on the fact that me and the world needs a change.
So I guess I would ask, are you knowing what you know about the tools that you have and the things that you're experiencing, do you think that some of the hardship that you're going through right now is, I think when we know how we want to be operating and know how we want to be living and we don't follow through on it, it's like a self betrayal, and we let ourselves down. And do you think that it's that aspect that you feel like you're not honoring and showing up for yourself and following through with yourself, to
Yeah.
where that inner critic or inner judge knows, like, that
Yeah.
you're not
The one
showing up,
that's deep down. Yeah.
So, um,
Like
are,
I'm consistently for the last 4 years, I've consistently been breaking my word to myself, and that's the one word that you don't break is the one to yourself, because you develop that you don't trust yourself anymore.
yeah,
And so I feel like even sitting down, working on things, I'm like I'm not being genuine.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a balance, right? Because I know you personally, and I think that there's a large element of who you are that comes from being a person that shows up consistently and, is there and pushing forward. So I think it's, from my perspective, from what I've learned about myself, and then also what I see from, you or other people around me, is this like huge need for a balance where we're able to show up for ourselves in the right way and be consistent with that. That's a huge place in where all of it starts. And then allowing there to be the balance of the things that we're growing towards and trying to push us, and the frustrations that come along with all of that. I think that's the hardest thing, is to be grateful in the moment and not beat yourself up while still pushing yourself.
Yeah.
It's all a duality. It's all a balance.
Yeah, and it's when we talk about like not going into the past, about you're never like, you can't beat yourself up because you can't go back to who you were. Right? When I was first getting out of this, I was constantly listening to warrior people. Like I was constantly listening to Jocko's podcast and reading David Goggins and Cam Hanes and all of these people who just fucking endure through every bit of pain. And I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now when I get to this stage, I'm like, why the fuck aren't you just doing it? But I'm not those people, and I have my own way of doing it. And I had to learn how to push through no matter what, for the times that I need to push through no matter what. It doesn't mean I have to do that every single time. The other times, if we go into the other, I'm fucking always forget about his name, but Chris Williamson was interviewing, it's his name's Dwayne. It's like that Western, got long beard, cowboy hat, Wyoming. I
Mhm.
think he is like a rancher out in Wyoming. Has been his entire life. Smokes a ton of cigars.
Mm.
But he he had interviewed him, and I might get this a little wrong, but Dwayne had said something along the lines of he was just like really fucking angry all the time, and he always had it in him. And one day he just, or Chris Williams had asked him, like, how did you get out of it? And he's like, well, one day I was working on this horse that was just a fucking pain in the ass, complete pain in the ass. And he knew heading into work that it was going to be a problem. And so he got there and he just sat down and just sat with the horse and just looked at him. And then hours and hours went by, and then he got back up and he went home, and his wife asked him how things, or how work was. He goes, well, he either said I didn't make the world worse or I didn't make anything worse today. And then after that, he said he just chose to do a whole lot more sitting, smoking cigars, and thinking. And I think that that's my balance. Like, the reason that I align with that, and the reason that I align with what, the warrior mentality says too, because there has to be that balance. You have to have that, the yin and the yang in you. You have to have some warrior in you, and you have to have some love and understanding in you as well.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a deep philosophical look at things in that way, or even just in terms of working out and
Yeah.
pushing yourself and then having recovery time. Um, it's just, I think, making that time to actually create wellness and happiness, whether it be just sitting quietly and creating some peace for yourself, or doing things that make you happy. It's important to incorporate it
Yeah.
into the routine in some way.
I'm reading that book that I hate,
Mhm.
and they
Still finding gems, I'm
I'm still
sure.
finding them. And that's the funny thing is, like, I had talked to you a
Hmm.
couple days ago about how I don't like this book.
There'll be something in
And
there.
there has been. And I
Yeah,
know that. And it's funny, the more I read it, the more I try. I'm focusing on it so much that I don't like it, that I'm like, I have to find something in here.
yeah.
So I'm finding a whole lot more than I normally would. And there's all the songs, like, who sings the song "Live Like You Were Dying"?
I can't remember.
I, anyway, this is a great song, but but there's a point in the book where it's like, if you're gonna, it's it's all about worrying about time, like, that's where our anxiety comes from. And if you try to snap yourself back to the decisions that one day I'm gonna die, and, like, does this moment that I'm worrying about this really matter, or one day I'm not gonna be around? Is it worth it to just go on this trip? Like, one day I'm not gonna be around. Should I make the decision to make my dreams come true? I know that's, like, really stuck with me, because I haven't been doing the things that make me happy, and I haven't been living that way. I've just been, what's the next best step to make whatever I'm doing here good, when in reality, the way that this runs well is if I run well. Is that if we run well.
Mhm.
Like, if we're all doing things that are making ourselves happy and working on ourselves, that's how this grows. And people will see that, and
Yeah,
hopefully reenact and do the same things.
yeah. I mean, it's a pretty common theme, I think, among a lot of authors and a lot of um, anybody in that space of growth or ascension or self realization. Um, that fragility of time, making the moments count, and taking the time, to appreciate the things around you and where you're at, and making the time to create space to make you happy. It seems like everybody that I've looked up to, or read from, gets to a point where they understand that element, that there is a very short amount of time that we're here, and you do have to appreciate moments that you're in, and take the time to be able to enjoy yourself. Um, and it doesn't have to be something that you sit in. Just like you don't want to sit in depression, you don't need to only be looking to create happiness and only be looking for
Yeah.
joy. I think there's a lot to be said about working towards your purpose, and as that purpose is coming out, allowing that to be your joy and your happiness. You know, this journey of figuring out the darkness and the hardships and how to get through it, in retrospect down the road, it will all be added growth, and that testimony of strength and the journey itself, and there will be joy and happiness in it, regardless of the outcomes, as long as you're continuing to push through. We all are able to look back and see what we've made it through. And I think it's good that you're trying to be cognizant of what you're going through, and trying to push forward and take lessons from it to allow yourself to be better. And it's good that you're going through it, because it's going to add to an element of self-care into your routine. And then I think, because you've been in maybe a place that hasn't been as great, it feels like you have to have this major swing the other way to be able to compensate for how bad you felt. And I think just doing some of the little things, you don't have to escape the bad feelings
Yeah.
and go put yourself necessarily like in a completely different place and environment, because then you can't like that's going to end
Yeah.
and you'll be back
Right back.
back to where you're
Yeah.
at, and then you'll be longing for those feelings again. And so I think just creating, like you are, what you can add to your day to bring yourself to that place of peace and centeredness, whether it's like meditating or doing your workout, reading or writing in certain ways, when you're able to find the gratitude in that moment and allow that to direct you for the day, and have that
Yeah.
balance, I feel like that helps quite a bit.
Yeah, whatever you can do to find happiness in the middle of your day, whatever you can do to find the gratitude in the middle of the day, whether it's biting into a strawberry that tastes really
Yeah.
good,
I mean, I
like
know
to
I
pull
get,
yourself back out of.
yeah, I get bad anxiety,
Yeah.
and I get very overwhelmed, especially when I wake up in the morning. I get, a flood of negativity.
Yeah.
And I have to be very intentional to not get on my phone, because if I do and I start scrolling, I'm immediately flooded with negativity. It doesn't matter what I'm looking at online,
Yeah.
whether it creates like self-doubt or fear, or just the things in the world and in society that
Or
are
envy of anybody else
just
or
any of
yeah.
it, it just pulls out negative emotion. And I, trying to do a better job staying off of devices and meditating. And if I can't meditate, just sitting quietly for 5 to 10 minutes, just putting a timer on and not moving, and allowing the thoughts to come and go, and be able to self-regulate just through breathing in those few minutes. That helps me a lot, and I think from that, I'm able to kind of process the things as they come through the day, where I'm not so reactive. you know, Driving in the morning, if I've done some meditating, I'm able to handle a more relaxed commute, and instead of getting angry at people, because in the end, that like 5 minute difference in trying to get there faster isn't actually going to make or break the day at all.
No.
But it's really easy for me to get the adrenaline from being
Yeah.
anxious in the morning and allow that to carry into how my morning goes on, and that anxiety doesn't end up feeling good. Definitely gives me some energy, but when I could focus it into a healthy thing, like reading or journaling, or
The crash is
yeah,
not worth it.
yeah, and I definitely hit a wall on those days that I'm not trying to be mindful of where I'm at as I move through the morning. Those days, I hit a wall at some point during the day where I just am exhausted because I've been overthinking and overprocessing, and um, so I'm kind of working on that too. And I hope that as these new routines start kicking in, we're both able to continue to grow and find the balance and progress. It's just tough getting through
Yeah.
it. It's hard to remind yourself. So it's good to have, people around you that support you, understand those dynamics, and that can help remind you as you're going through it.
I think people I think a lot of people are, not living the lives that they dreamed of. Life happens.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are. I heard something, and it was from a movie or whatever, but it was like, how much are they paying you? How much did they first start paying you to give up on your dreams?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. And I think in the movie it was George Clooney.
I'd take a cool meal.
Yeah, it's George Clooney or something, right? Or in the movie, but I forget the other guy's name. Great actor, but he's like 27,000.
Yeah.
And then they just kept talking and stuff. But it was like that hit me because I'm like, how much? If people could ask themselves that question,
Yeah.
like how much
What are you accepting right now for your
for your
hourly rate
yeah, to give up on your
to
dreams?
give up on chasing your dream?
Now we're practical. We understand how life works. Like you can't just drop everything. Most people can't just drop everything.
Those kids,
They
you gotta
have
feed them,
Kids,
clothe them.
you got to deal with them. You got to buy them Xboxes.
I mean, my goal, I think it works for myself also, but I've tried to shift that perspective to giving my kids the ability to have the freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying monetarily. I'm just trying to make everything better for my kids to have the ability to do the things that I'm not able to do, the things that I feel like I'm failing at.
Can I
you
ask
know?
you? Can I ask you? I don't mean to interrupt you, but I asked this question when I talk to friends and stuff that have gone through divorces and that are going through bad relationships and stuff, and they're like, "No, we're just staying together for the kids," and da da da.
Mm.
When your kids grow old, as we see our parents are older, do you think if you were to ask them that question, like, do you want me to? I'm trying to think about it, like put it the way that, or put it the way that you were explaining things. Let me put it this way for like the relationship. Like if you were to ask your kids when they were older, if you were to stick around in a relationship for them, I don't think that they would say I think that they would rather you be happy.
Yeah, I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
I agree. From
So
everybody that
I
I know.
completely agree with how what you're saying. I'm just thinking like,
Well, some of that, I mean, I understand. I think what you're saying, and I think I've done well to ask myself often at my funeral, what are or after I die, what are my kids going to say about me?
yeah,
And I think,
gay.
yeah, right. I think that that's helped to shape some of my decision making already. I know I'm not fully where I'd want to be in terms of a person or a father. I think I do a decent job, but I'm always pretty critical of myself.
Yeah.
So there's more that I want to be able to do and provide for them. Um, but there are things that I've stopped doing. There are things that I have done more of based on um, what I think really matters in the end. And I think taking care of yourself in a healthy way and honoring yourself. And I mean that not by just chasing happiness and, oh, this person doesn't make me happy, so forget them, but
Mhm.
showing up to life in an intentional and mindful way, considering the people around you and the way that you affect them and how showing up for yourself does that. I think making that the focus has helped me to not worry so much about if they're going to judge me or not, because I know that if I'm intentional each day in showing up that way, hopefully they'll at least see that effort and be able to say, we saw that dad worked at these things, or we saw that he sacrificed in these ways. And, there's things that I'm not good at and still struggling with, and things that I know I want to improve on. And I just hope that they see, even if I'm not good at those things, that I'm still willing to admit, you know, to myself and the world around me what I know I could challenge myself with and get better at, and then not be afraid to work at those things. I think from what I see around me, you could say even with like substance abuse or whatever, I think kids can see more than they realize. And the example of substance abuse is like, I think a kid will see if a parent is going through that and understand that there's a struggle there. But I think the parent's attitude towards that, self-destructive behavior probably has a lot more to do with the way that the kid will respond than not. So if a parent knows that they have an issue like that, but they're working at and consistent at trying to live in a way that would right those things, um, I think that a child will see that more so than a parent who would just make excuses and continue, the this is life happening to me kind of attitude. So I mean, I think everything relates to our attitude about it,
Yeah.
and how we're choosing to go through those situations. And I think that kids are very smart and pick up on that.
Yeah,
So
and
if they see you doing something that they know doesn't make you happy and genuinely doesn't make you feel good, they can pick up on that even
yeah.
if you're not saying it.
Well,
So
and to that point, that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand. Like, there's sacrifices that you have to make once you have a kid. Your happiness doesn't matter. Like, it matters, but I just mean that if there's one thing that I could go back in time to tell my parents at any point in time that they were worrying, or any point in time that they were like trying to make ends meet or give me something that I said I wanted or whatever, the only thing that I could say is that I just wanted to see them happy. That's it. Like, I think that,
I think that's part of it. I mean, as
but
adults,
as an adult, that's what I'm
right?
saying.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
as a kid, I'd be like pissed off that why didn't I
yeah,
get a bike or why didn't
yeah,
I get this? I mean, my parents taught me not like I didn't. I'm sure there were times, of course, but I didn't. I wasn't necessarily raised to get completely upset if I didn't get something. I
right,
more or less had to earn a lot of things.
right.
And my parents, my grandparents, like everybody was great to
Yeah, I
me.
mean, kudos to them for that. I think like we're all winging it,
Yeah,
and
yeah, we've talked about that.
as
Yeah,
parents, we're just trying to do our best with
yeah,
what we know in the moment. And I can look at my mom. She worked her ass off to try and provide for my brother and I, and I think did a better job than she realized, making us feel loved and
hmm
whole, and provided enough for us to not think about it. However, like in those moments, I wanted more. I
yeah.
always wanted to have things and
Because
do more and all of that. But when I look back on those times, I don't necessarily analyze the experiences per item or situation. It's more so knowing that I see how much my mom sacrificed
yeah,
to work hard to try and provide. And that is what actually has affected me. And I carry on,
for your
for
kids.
myself and try to carry on for my kids
Yeah.
is,
That's
you
what I'm
know,
saying.
yeah.
Like obviously at the time I wouldn't have
Hmm.
said that. I'm just saying for any parent that's out there that feels like they're not fucking doing enough,
Yeah. When I
more
was,
than likely they're gonna come back around and they're gonna realize
yeah,
like,
yeah, it just takes that perspective in life,
yeah,
and not everybody does get it, but I think most people end up coming into situations and times in their life that they can start to relate a little better that, when you can see the situations as an adult, knowing how life really works, you're able to see what challenges people were up against just to be able to maintain their daily life. We talk about things like the struggle and all that, forgetting that our parents were this age at one point, doing these
right.
things at one point, and
We were all
struggling the
babies at
same
one
way.
point, and
Yeah.
when my parents were raising me, they were kids. Like we're kids. I don't have kids right now. I'm not a father, but at any age, I'm still going to be a child.
Yeah.
Like
My
there's
kids
a
teach.
child still in
Yeah.
me from the day I was born.
I'm always trying to learn and do better, and I'm learning from my kids all the time. I'm just now, I feel like, in a point in life in which I would actually like choose to bring a child into the world, intentionally. Had things gone a way that I would have, chosen, um, I'm happy that things have gone the way that they have because I've needed those lessons and the experiences that I've been through as like a young parent in order to shape me to where I'm at. I just like the regret I think that I have in the situation is that I wasn't there sooner to be able to provide a different type of insight or perspective to my kids. However, I think that I probably have picked up on things earlier than, the previous generation and the previous generation. So I've been able to kind of look at my actions and words and try to shape them differently in the hopes that they're receiving that change earlier than maybe I did. And then they can take that and build on it, and make a better life for themselves than where I'm
Yeah,
at,
I think you're doing a great job.
So,
I think it's. I mean, um, I just, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to make the point of if you're a parent out there, like
yeah.
you're struggling, you feel like you're not doing enough. You are. Like
Yeah. I mean, as
more
long
than
as,
likely you
yeah,
are.
if you're not being a piece of shit to your
Yeah,
kids,
more than likely
and
you are.
taking your issues out on them,
Yeah.
then yeah, more than likely,
And I
yes, you
hope
are
that they
helping.
eventually have the like I don't have kids but like I said, I still in the past 5 years have had more understanding of where my parents were. And it helps me to have conversations with my friends who do have kids
Yeah.
because it helps me understand where my parents were at
Yeah.
even like it's a lot. I live a life more of forgiving
Right.
than anything now.
And it definitely helps add a layer, to the thinking. Like as I'm analyzing issues or problems, I will frame it in a way that, for myself, if I was teaching my kid this lesson, or if my kid was seeking advice from me, what, advice would I give? And I'll apply my situation to that type of conversation. And, I'm able to give myself the advice that I probably wouldn't want to follow through with all the time. And then you run into the whole dynamic of, well, now you know what the answer is for yourself, because this is what you would have someone else do, whether it's a friend or a kid. You can frame it however you want, but if you were to give the person you care about most the best advice that you could give, and you applied it to the situation that you're going through, it shows you what the truth would be and whether or not you're honoring those choices or that perspective. And I think that's the hang up that we all have, is it's hard to follow our advice. It's hard to do the thing that we know that's hard, that would make us feel better or would give us the answer, and I think awareness is key, becoming aware to those areas and those things, like you're understanding some of the things that you maybe have slacked on and taking care of yourself to feel well on purpose, and if you were giving me advice about that stuff, you'd tell me to take the time every day to do the things that help me get in touch with the happier side of things. And, I think it's great that you're trying to step back into that mentality and apply it to where you're at,
Going rock climbing tomorrow.
It's good.
I plan a rock.
It's good.
For the first time in a while, and I'm ready. I was just talking. Noah goes there every Sunday and a bunch of other days now. And
you got this, dude. Break a leg.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's for whatever reason, even just being in the indoor gym is like, it's always like you're hooked up to a harness. You're not going to fall as long as your partner's watching you and stuff. And the amount of like intense feeling that with each move that you make, like each move matters. You have to be dialed in and focused on the wall, especially when you're doing lead climbing and stuff. But I'm fucking pumped to go back tomorrow. We were supposed to go a couple weeks ago, whatever, we let life get in the way. And I'm just trying to focus more on, I'm going to let life get in the way after I get the things done that make me happy.
Mm-hmm. All that stuff is still sitting there. You're allowed to take an hour or two.
Yeah, I'm gonna
out of the day to pursue something fun.
Yeah, and especially right now,
like I'm sick of the complaining.
Yeah,
I'm sick of the attitude. go do something fun.
Yeah, are you guys gonna come rock climbing with us?
I did not receive an invite until just now.
I told you when we were.
I mean, you can say, "Oh, I'm going to go do this," but that's different.
I told you the week before, last week.
But still, because it's your thing that you're doing, I'm not going to.
Chris, would you and the boys like to go rock climbing?
Potentially. I'll have to see where we're at with things and what's going on, but I'll get back to you later on that.
Okay.
But yes, it would be fun. I'd love to get the boys into, doing more stuff like that and getting active.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be good for them.
Have they been to the gym before?
Not that one specifically.
Okay, so they'd have to do that. Have you?
I have years ago.
Okay, if it's over a year, you got to take the course again. But,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. I think new experiences that are challenging are things that more kids need to do. So
yeah,
I definitely would love to get them out there.
I really, I'm good to kind of end this, and I just want people to just take a second and to think if they're doing anything, like if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, just do anything, even for 5 minutes that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Even if it's an old fucking hobby that you haven't picked up in a long time, just try it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean,
set a fucking timer and just for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and if you're going through it, and even if you're not, look around at what is happening in life. There is probably a different perspective on it. If you're feeling down and feeling out, it's important to see, the rays of sunshine that are coming
Be grateful
through.
For the strawberries.
A lot of it we've asked for, and it's a challenge when we get it initially, and then you look back on it and you're happy that you went through it because it makes you stronger.
I don't think we're given anything in life that we're not capable of overcoming.
Yeah,
I think everything that we have, whether it's the sunshine or the rain, is meant to be there, and it's meant to make us into the individual and the unique person that we need to be to help better ourselves and better the world around us.
Yeah.